Hello and welcome to PlayStation Access. My name is Rosie, and I promise this is going to be the last video I do on Resident Evil for a while. Resident Evil 3 is out now on PS4, and since it came out, I've basically absorbed it into my being. I've been playing it again and again and again, and each time I find lovely details that make me shout, "Oh, this is referencing this game!" Or, "Oh, this makes sense!" But there was one section of the game in particular where I seemed to quietly shout this a lot. I say quietly shout as I was playing it near bedtime and I didn't want to upset the neighbours. The bit I'm talking about is when Carlos visits the Raccoon City Police Department. There are so many details here which link to the remake of Resident Evil 2, as Carlos explores the area before Leon and Claire arrive. So I thought it'd be fun to make a video on it. The footage I'm using for Resident Evil 2 is from the Leon A campaign, simply because this was the mode I played when I played Resident Evil 2 last year. Now let's see if we're stars material and go through 8 ways Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 link. First of all, what happened to our short-time best friend Marvin? He is introduced in Resident Evil 2 once, in this case Leon, has returned to the main hall after trying to save another officer. But immediately, one of the first things you notice is, oh, that's a lot of blood. Oh no. Yes, Marvin was sadly attacked by zombies and is now infected, but he fights the virus as he tries to help you. Leon never directly asks Marvin what happened, but as a warning, all Marvin says is,
"If you see one of those things, uniform or not, you do not hesitate."
Which pretty much spells out how he got his injury. But will we discover which officer attacked him? Yes, we will. In Resident Evil 3, as Carlos and Tyrell enter R.P.D. for the first time, you hear a cry from Marvin outside the station as he defends himself from former STARS member, Brad. Marvin is about to finish off zombie Brad until...
Sorry.
Yeah. Sadly, Marvin felt reluctant to pull the trigger, as there was still a slight bit of humanity left in Brad. This explains how Marvin was attacked, who attacked him, and why it happened. It's such a tragic tale, and we will always remember Marvin for the great officer he was. Next up is a group of entries which really made me smile. First of all, a huge section of Resident Evil 2 is obtaining certain keys for certain doors. So of course, as Carlos, you have to see if he's able to open them.
Now here's a weird fucking door.
Leave it. We're here for Bard.
Carlos will never be able to open these doors, as Leon is the one who obtains the keys for them in Resi 2. Carlos also references the door with the warning sign on it.
Alright, you want me to keep out? I'll keep out.
A poster with Brad in it, which is also an Easter egg in Resi 2.
Sorry, poster boy.
An R.P.D. uniform in the locker.
Somebody didn't have time to put his blues on.
Which I presume is the same one Marvin gives Leon in Resi 2. And everyone's favourite Welcome Leon sign.
Yeah. Welcome, Leon. Bet you had a kick-ass first day.
You know what, I don't think Carlos believes Leon lived to carry on with his career. But as we all know, that was not the case. Back to another mystery. Who remembers this horrific, gruesome and grimy R.P.D. officer? Because I do. When you first encounter him, first of all you're like, that's nasty. And then you start wondering what caused it. Was it a zombie? Well, we now know what it was. Before Carlos even opens the door to this corridor, he hears terrifying screams and just glimpses a weird tongue attacking the second officer. That's right, lickers. We don't see the first officer get attacked, to be fair, but the lickers have incredibly strong claws, so I'm pretty sure he got swiped. And the other officer is the one who gets hung from a pole in the ceiling through his head. Nice. A lovely detail with this officer is that as Carlos, you see him still dripping with blood, still twitching, and is firmly on that pole, implying his death has just happened. Actually, that's not such a lovely detail. Whereas, when you encounter him in Resi 2, the blood's dried up, the body is still, and if you walk underneath it, it falls on top of you, as he's been hanging there for quite some time at this point, and the wound has loosened over time. And no matter how many times I walk into this body, it still makes me jump when it falls every time. Number 4, the safety deposit room. First of all, this room is locked in Resident Evil 3. In Resi 2, you can enter this room from the get-go, so I was pleasantly surprised to discover the reason Leon can access it so easily is because Carlos unlocks it. And just like in Resi 2, when you go inside to enter a code, there are 2 keys missing from the keypad. which is annoying. But don't worry, Leon finds them later on and also finds a little note accusing someone of taking the keys. And something else that I noticed is that in Resi 3, if you input 104, Carlos has access to a key item, and in Resi 2, the locker is open and empty, which we now know is thanks to Carlos. This is probably my favourite link Resi 3 made to Resi 2 in the R.P.D, and it relates to this locker here. In Resident Evil 2, there is a lovely locker in the washroom which has a lovely zombie in it. But Resi 3 gives this zombie a backstory. Carlos finds a note in the room written by someone called Wes, who states that if his friend is reading this note, it means he's already dead and locked himself in the locker. So he warns us, do not open the locker, even if you hear noises. So of course I'm going to try.
Better not.
You know what, Carlos? You are very good at following advice from others. But Leon, on the other hand... Hello, Wes. It's nice to meet you. Goodbye. Another mystery in the washroom is this big hole in the wall, which clearly is not meant to be there. Someone has broken this wall manually. But who? Carlos, of course. Carlos destroys this wall thanks to a detonator, which leads to a big boom. So this explains why Leon finds this big hole in the wall. We've now moved away from the R.P.D, but this place is just down the road and I wanted to include it. So I have. This is Gun Shop Kendo, home of, you guessed it, Kendo, the best gunsmith in Raccoon City. Jill arrives at the gun shop first and is approached by Kendo. They seem to be friends and Jill offers Kendo the chance to come with her to safety. Sadly though, Kendo has other priorities and decides to stay. Now, if you decided to play Resi 3 before Resi 2 and decided not to approach the door once Kendo goes inside, you'll be wondering why Kendo stayed. This is sadly because Kendo's daughter has been infected with the virus. In Resi 3, you hear Kendo talking to his daughter, comforting her as she slowly turns.
It's all right, Pumpkin. It's all right. That's a good girl.
And then in Resi 2, he ends her life before she's fully consumed by the virus. Man, this is such a tragic scene. And finally, Capcom decided to add a lovely detail in the gun shop in Resi 2, which links nicely with Resi 3. Leon can find a note left on the side for Kendo, offering him help if he ever needs it. And it turns out that this was written by our favourite lady from Stars, Jill Valentine herself, which I presume she wrote as she left the gun shop before Leon arrived. And you even get a shiny trophy for finding this note, which is always an added bonus. And there we go, 8 really cool links between Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3. Mainly in the R.P.D. I bet there was some I missed, so if you know any more, please let me know in the comments. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, and hit that notification bell so that you stay up to date with the world of PlayStation. Thank you all so much for watching.
For the players.